1984 Volvo 240 84. Good year for Volvos? Not really. This thing is sort of all torn apart. And why? Because it died and left us stranded on the interstate. Now, a sentiment you'll hear from people that don't know any better is that these poors are running around with cars and car loans and stuff. And that's not frugal, and while you're right, it's not. But not everybody has this option. For anything imperative that we need to get to, we have the family grocery getter, or we have a Toyota Tundra sitting right over there. But this is fun. I mean, yes, it breaks down, kids miss a soccer practice, we mix morning church. That's the worst case scenario. But for somebody it's your only means of transportation, it doesn't make any sense at all. So, when probed, what does this thing do exactly? Give it some gas to see. Makes no difference at all. Does that, rolls over twice, whichever, and that's it. So, but when you get lemons, you make Lemonaid. Now, why is this thing so, I wouldn't say unreliable? It's an 84, not the best year 240 in my opinion. I mean, if you're going to go for a daily driver, you want to get at least the newest 240, 93, 92, 93. You can get R134A, a cooling system that actually is up to snuff and keeps you cold inside, it's in the HVAC, or 79 for those cool aesthetic looks. 79 would be my favorite. Get those round headlights. We're going to make Lemonaid. And by doing that, we're going to troubleshoot some issues here. I mean, first thing I did was buy a new battery. Yeah, the battery that I had in her dated 3 of 21, and of course it is from the usual suspects. Special is not quite up to par. I mean, with just so cranking on the side of the interstate from where this died, I drained the battery. So, we upgraded. But anywho, so she cranks, almost fires, gets so close that almost sounds like a fuel thing. But that's a super easy thing to check. As you can see, I've been into this a little bit. I've got this out, find out I have a remand. That's not a mass airflow air thingy. It's not the one with the door. It's the hot wire one, as you can see there. This is LH 2.0, I believe. It's 84. I think in 85 they went to 2.2, and I'm not quite sure what the difference is. Quite a few things are based on spark. I mean, if you're not getting spark, you're not getting fuel, because the actual RPM signal coming from the coil is what tells this to trigger. So, I've already gone into this a little bit, so some of this is just going out for rudimentary proof of concept. If we've got some spark, and get your handy dandy, you can pull out your spark plug and just have it next to the block and hold it. I've found that these things are quite handy. Get the job done easily. Let me focus on that. I'll crank, you'll see. So, hopefully that was sufficient enough that you could see. It's kind of bright out here, so I'm hoping you can see the light. I tried this at night yesterday, and I can see the light. Now, another thing, I can hear the fuel pump running. So, we'll check pressure, one thing at a time. So now we know we have spark, which means the injectors should be injecting. Testing that, I do prefer an analog gauge myself. So on the injectors, they are always hot. So there's always 12 volts to it. Be careful, don't just apply 12 volts to your injectors. Earlier ones, I believe, were maybe only 5 volts. Alright, so there we have it. It's only positive 12 if you're cranking or you're running, which does make sense. So it's positive 12 while cranking. However, the other one, the positive is always positive if ignition's on, and then ground, brake closes to ground twice per revolution. All 4 injectors at the same time, twice per revolution. So that was clearly pulsing on and off. So our injectors are working. I smell fuel, but if we should not be getting, if there's something else awry here. I mean, we're getting fuel, or the injectors are sparking. I have not checked fuel pressure or the fuel pump, other than audibly hearing the fuel pump. Give her a little bit of the gas, and she should fire up for a second if everything else is all right. And if it doesn't, we're looking deeper in the engine. Either we have no compression to start, or Time? Seems like the same behavior to me. So the next thing you would probably check is compression. I mean, we can. I think we're going to find we have low or none. Because what I suspect has happened is timing has slipped. Why do I suspect? Well, that's actually pretty easy to check. Because there's two 10mm bolts at the top of the thing. There's enough play in the thing that you can pull it off. And you can look there and see that my belt's riding on the outside. And yes, that is not lined up. Your belts are not going to be always lined up. So don't fret on that. If you see like that, like the one dot and then the mark on there, that is not indicative of a timing problem. It's not going to be in the same spot every time. But it's probably quite a few revolutions to get in the same spot every time. And it might be hard to see on camera, but inside of there I can see a bunch of fiberglass, so something is awry with this belt. It's definitely been running on the edge and wearing itself down. Lost enough material and finally skipped a tooth, is my estimate. Well, I can't quite fit my big camera in here, so cell phone it is. As you can see here, we got an issue. Look at that, we are missing a tooth. In fact, there's another one down there that looks missing too. In fact, if I look down in there, I can see a few teeth. And unfortunately, it's going to be really impossible for us to see that it's skipped teeth. Because imagine these two will line up. The smallest pulley is down there on the bottom. So we're definitely looking at a timing belt again. Hey, there's another video on a timing belt not too long ago. However, since we're redoing the timing belt, it appears that something went very wrong, and maybe you should not consider my advice on that one. There's always options how to do things. In fact, there is a special tool to do this very thing, but this will do the job. Yep, timing is off. You can see the missing teeth right there. And as far as our dot over there, it should line up with that keyway. But if I come around to the other side, I might be able to see the, I don't know if we can see the mark there, but the mark's clear on the other side. Definitely off. Well, new timing belt installed. Let's try to crank her, see what happens here. Well, here's what we got. She runs. And I shut it off pretty quick because I was worried about that belt. I was looking at the belt and it runs along the outside. And as you can see here, it's rubbing on the outside of that, let's call it retaining thing on the end there. Is there something up with my bearing that's causing that to run on the outside? I mean, nothing down there but the pulley. And so the bottom, there's a retaining big washer that goes on that that would do the same thing as that. So I think I gotta pull this pulley off and take a look at that bearing, you know, or maybe just flip it around. That might do us. In addition to those other things we're figuring out, right where the keyway comes up, she's cracked. Oof. So maybe that was just a symptom of running it. I didn't have this tension at the time. If you see, if I loosen it, that thing rotates. So tighten her back up. Appropriate tension. Start her again. See how she does. Forgot that. Anyway, a little bit of a miss as well. I mean, if we're going by that spark almost seems inconsistent. Oh, no, it's consistent now. Weird. But yeah, we're still more on the outside than I think we should be. And on the bottom there, you can see that it'll probably be, the spacer is probably going to be holding in the bottom. Or the washer. Here, I'll show you what I mean here. Well, I mean better, but things are looking up. But they're not excellent yet. We're still, I mean, I suppose there's a little bit of a gap there. But I think it is about even right there, like she should be. Down there, let me zoom in. You can see that lip's coming off a little bit, so ooh. Did I mess up the spacer arrangement on the thing? Very possible. And we are entirely back together. Oh yeah, she starts and runs. Got the whole setup here. Well, that was the entire thing. I think I started off on this whole rant thing about how people without means, that this is a privilege. Even a 240, the most reliable of the old junkers. I mean, the newest one is 30 years old. It's still going to need stuff like this. For somebody without the resources to tinker with this, a garage to do it in, the knowledge, the know-how. I mean, you spent thousands of dollars on, well, I don't know, a lot of money learning. I mean, that's money and resources better devoted to bettering yourself in your career and making more money that way. That's opportunity cost. To do one thing, to be out here in my driveway at night replacing a timing belt, is time that I can't be doing something else. But I do this for you guys. And that's, I guess, sort of the point. The 240, this is what makes it so cool. Although there are some maintenance items, like I think Volvo calls for a timing belt every 30,000 miles, and there are manufacturers that claim 50,000 with new materials, but they call, that's a very short timing belt change interval. 30,000 miles. But they also specify oil changes every 7,500. So, it's give and take, I guess. But that's the cool thing with these things. I've replaced a timing belt on a 240 in a red block over a lunch break. So it's easy work that you could figure out and learn how to do. This was a troubleshooting video, and I hope you got something out of it, because if your red block isn't starting, these are the ways that you would try to solve the problem. You would first check for spark. Confirm spark, you move on to fuel. You know, a lot more could have gone wrong, but there's a whole lot more Volvos and red blocks around here. Stay tuned for the whole works here, and we'll get you figured out. Stay tuned and do that thing where you subscribe, because there's more, and we'll do more troubleshooting videos like this. I mean, on these Volvos, there's only so many things that can go wrong. They are very skookum, very reliable, and pretty much the same things go wrong. Timing belt, or the Chrysler ignition module, we'll get to that in another video as well. Well, thanks for watching.